From the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Would the Senator yield?
I yield.
Thank you, Senator. You started off talking about sections 1 through 4 and that you're amending those code sections. Before the question that I have for you, Senator, will you just kind of give me, if you will, the impact before these amendments that we've had under sections 1 through 3?
Could you, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
What has the impact been on the previous laws that we passed in this chamber?
The impact of the is the current law and how it works, is that
Yes.
the question?
What has the impact been with the current law?
Well, I believe when companies found out that there was this law, they started complying with it. If you read the law, it's somewhat difficult to tell who down the line is supposed to submit an affidavit and who's supposed to get it and who's supposed to get it to the public employer, which is the ultimate entity that's supposed to have the affidavit. And so there are no penalties really in the current law, but this clarifies the responsibilities of all the contractors in the public works area, which was not really clearly defined, and it closes the loophole about independent contractors that now would be required to present some form of identification.
Senator Yale?
Yes.
So the correct response is you're saying the current law had no impact whatsoever?
The current law did have some impact, yes.
But Senator Yale?
Yes.
Senator, are you familiar with the current ruling by the Court of Appeals from today's ruling regarding the Arizona law?
I am familiar with the Court of Appeals ruling, but as I mentioned earlier, the Court of Appeals, the lower court found several of the provisions that are in this law were fine. So that was not an issue on appeal. What was at issue on appeal was the area of the police stop and what that language had to be, and we have tried to address that so that if a Court of Appeals heard this bill at some point, we would have addressed the concerns raised in those cases.
Thank you, Senator. So you're suggesting that this bill has already incorporated those elements that were objectionable to the lower courts and, of course, the Court of Appeals?
Yes.
Senator Further Yield?
Yes.
Senator, have you considered the other impact that the current law in Arizona had on its state, and have you mitigated those other effects of that law in this legislation? I'm talking financial.
We have attempted to learn from that experience and mitigate and get a well-balanced bill that addresses the problem but avoids some of the issues that arose in Arizona.
Senator Further Yield?
Yes.
Senator, do you have any, I understand your response, but how am I and those that are listening to this discussion to know that those other elements like the financial impact, the economic tsunami, and all these other issues that Arizona face may not occur here in Georgia? How are we to know that?
Well, you have the ability to offer amendments, which I believe there will be some if you're concerned about that. We did try to address that with people that we could talk to who know something and gave us the benefit of their knowledge, but you certainly have the privilege to address it further by amendment if you need to.
So that means you're open to amendments, is that correct, Senator?
Doesn't matter whether I'm open or not. Amendments are coming.
Senator Further Yield?
Yes.
Senator, will you kind of travel with me over to Section 16 of your bill?
Well, this is not my bill, by the way.
The bill that you're carrying? I do apologize, Senator.
Which section?
Section 16.
Okay.
And I'm familiar with the term vigilante justice. How's this section different than vigilante justice and private militias?
Well, if you don't like this language, you really wouldn't like the language that was in the original version. But the original version had language that any citizen could sue a public agency or state agency for violation of this law without any screening process. And so what we've attempted to do is to require a person to go through the Attorney General's office so the attorneys at the Attorney General's office can look at the case and decide if it has merit before it goes forward. And so I would not call that vigilante justice.
Senator, further yield?
Yes.
Senator, my concern with Section 16 is we are now taking private citizens and those that may have a vested interest in hunting down illegals, and we're now giving them the authority to redress their concerns through our legal system. Are you concerned about that impact, Senator?
I am confident that the way we've drafted this, if it's a frivolous case, that the Attorney General's office can screen it out and prevent what would be possibly frivolous suits from arising if there were not that screening process.
Senator, further yield?
Yes.
Senator, what guidelines are we giving to the Attorney General in this legislation to give them some foresight, if you will, or just simply guidelines on how to handle these, as you have suggested, possibly frivolous cases?
I think it's pretty clear. Obviously, the Attorney General's office is full of lawyers, and this law is not really complicated. They can look at the law and decide if public agencies are following the law, which all it really requires is getting a piece of paper, an affidavit from contractors, and it also goes into other areas where public agencies are required to determine if a person is here legally, and it's listed on the what documents can be provided to make that determination. So I think we're giving them as much direction as we possibly can.
Senator, further yield?
One more question.
Thank you, Senator, and I appreciate you indulging me with this. I understand the affidavit and that process of what you went through so well, by the way. My concern is all those other cases. Someone mentioned a church van, where there may not be affidavits involved, and not just churches, but any kind of organization that's helping the poor, that's helping those that are homeless. How do we give directions and guidance, and where in your legislation does it address those other concerns?
Well, Senator, I understand your concerns. They are legitimate, but the process that goes through the Attorney General's office deals with very specific cases, and that's just public benefit and affidavit. It does not, the scenario of going to church with an illegal alien is not involved in the Attorney General's part of this. That does not go through the Attorney General's office.
Thank you, Senator.
Recognize the senator from 38th.
Will the senator yield?
Yes.
Senator, I am concerned about Section 12 of the bill, which it appears that